Welcome everybody to Saturdays with Tara, our hangout on air. I'm Mary Beth. You're at the Law of Attraction Club on the web at theloaclub.com. If you'd like to get some information about our free guest membership calls, a month or so, there'll be some information on your screen. So check us out and come and join us for our extended calls where we have questions and answers. We'd love to have you with us. So Robin is bringing through Tara for us today, and so welcome to Robin and Tara.
Welcome to this meeting of minds, our mind and your mind, our thoughts and your thoughts, here at the point where our worlds intersect. This week, once again, this one was reading about the book with a similar title written by Mike Dooley, or Tut, or the universe, or whatever you want to call our siblings. He also read some of the reviews of that book, and there were some by those who really didn't get it. Usually they are caught up with ideas like, for example, sometimes bad things happen to children that couldn't be their fault, and therefore the idea that everybody creates everything they experience is just not logical. So let's set the scene here and see if we can avoid misunderstandings. Let's start by saying we want you to take nothing on faith. And further, we're not asking you to suspend logic, because what we're about to describe may not be the way you're used to thinking about things, but it is both logical and simple. So we encourage you to keep an open mind and not see these new concepts as complex just because they're new and maybe somewhat radical. We recommend you set an intention here and now to get to the truth of this, no matter where it leads you. Intentions help, so pre-pave for yourself a path to clarity. Our intention with this discussion is to get you answers about life, like who you are and what you're doing here. And questions like that, by definition, require you to step outside the physical framework of your world. As you do that, it's important that you start from a place of no assumptions, and most of you are okay with that. But sometimes it's not easy to recognize the assumptions you're carrying with you. So let's challenge you a little here with this. Most of you are used to thinking the world as something out there, external to you, independent of you, and shared by everybody. And perhaps in that world, sometimes bad things happen to children. Well, we know that world seems so real, so self-evidently real, that starting from that as an assumption is just plain common sense. Well, for the next few minutes here, we're going to encourage you to loosen your grip on that one world assumption. Because if you cannot do that, there are no simple and logical answers. There are only complex stories that are not logical, and half answers that lead to more questions and even more complex stories. And by the way, in that one world, the law of attraction makes no sense at all. So if you want simple and logical, come to this with an open mind, and that's where we'll go. Here are the 10 things dead people really want you to know. 1. We're not dead, and neither will you ever be. 2. We are all conscious entities, none more exalted or powerful than any other. 3. You can't understand death until you understand life. 4. You change you and your worlds by what you choose to believe. 5. Death is no big deal. It's just one of the infinite ongoing choices you make. 6. Death is not black and white. It will be what you expect it to be. 7. When your perspective changes, you will want different things. 8. You can experience Source and still know it is you who creates your worlds. 9. You can create the illusion of bad things, but Source is pure positive energy. 10. Peace and power and fun and freedom are always yours to choose. So let's get into the details of these with number 1. We're not dead, and neither will you ever be. We could use words like everlasting and eternal, but these words are approximations from a time-oriented perspective. In truth, you and we are all at our core timeless entities having experience in realms of our choosing. You have chosen a time-space world, and so it's hard to imagine a realm without familiar concepts like beginnings and ends, and boundaries and shapes, and things happening in sequence. But these concepts are relevant only in that virtual reality you see as a physical world. There is always fluidity, and there is always change. And there never was a beginning to you, and there will never be an end to you. In all of your infinite versions, you just are. Number 2, we're all conscious entities, none more exalted or worthy or divine than any other. We are a consciousness. You are a consciousness. We are all part of the collective consciousness of all that is. You might think that we're disembodied and ethereal and you are physical. What could be more different than that? But you and we are 99% the same. It's just that our points of focus, our contexts, and our perspectives are different. The essence of who we are is the same as the essence of who you are. We are no more exalted or worthy or divine than you. And there is no other entity that is. There are no hierarchies. There's nobody and no thing sitting in judgment. There's nobody in charge of your creation but you. Number 3, you can't understand death until you understand life. The group consciousness that we are, and the somewhat more individual consciousness that you are, each of us is formed by our intentions and desires and belief choices out of the collective consciousness of all that is. As we form, so does everything around us as a matching context. We have experiences. We form new desires. We make new choices. We step literally into a new version of ourselves, and a new matching context wraps itself around us. Through an infinity of other choices, here you are in this space-time world, playing the game of life on Earth in the year 2016. Although you are aware of only one version of you, you exist in infinite versions. Number 4, you change you and your worlds by what you choose to believe. We call them belief choices, but we could equally call them creation choices. Because although you may think of believing something and creating something as two quite different things, they are just opposite sides of the same coin. Perhaps as you have a desire to create something new, you begin with hope. But while there is only hope, there is also doubt. So let hope be the doorway to belief and then to certainty. Once you have left all doubt behind, manifestation is immediate. And all that means is you and your context are always a mirror image. As you begin with practice to settle into the surety of knowing who's creating that world around you, you begin more and more to be aware of the power that you have. New experiences and new choices continue, and you and the physical you and the physical world and the non-physical world and everything and everybody in those worlds around you match your expectations. Nobody and no thing outside of you has any power to assert into your experience anything that is not a match to you. Your virtual reality and our virtual reality each are our own realms to create. They are the stage on which we are playing out our individual stories. Number 5, death is no big deal. It's just one of the infinite ongoing choices you make. So death is not an end to anything. It's a transition. It's a shift in your consciousness from a space-time focus to a new focus. In the same way as your world is a choice, your transition out of it is a choice. So you could say that all deaths are suicides. You may or may not be choosing it on a conscious level, but like everything else in your experience, it's a match to your tapestry of expectations. When you further consider that there are an infinity of versions of you having an infinity of versions of lifetimes, can you begin to see, in the cosmic scheme of things, that your transition out of this particular version is not the big deal it's made out to be? It's just another choice. Number 6, death is not black and white. It will be what you expect it to be. What actually happens? Well, we could particularize and tell you a story of white light, or a welcoming committee with previously transitioned loved ones or pets or loving creatures of various sorts, or a limbo place where you are prepared for change. But in truth, we have to say, you tell us. Because this experience, like all your experiences, will play out on a stage of your making. This will be a new virtual reality, which will conform to your expectations just like all the others. There'll be a lessening of your grip on space and time, and there may be a bit of a shift as your consciousness opens up. But the good news here is that you can have it be whatever you want it to be. 7, when your perspective changes, you will want different things. You may have some strong desires for your transition experience, and that's okay. And as we said, you can have it any way you want it. We would just remind you here that those desires are a function of your now context, and things are going to change a lot. And as they do, what you want now may be dwarfed by a whole set of new options. The sky's the limit here, you see. Or perhaps we should say that the limit is going to be very obviously way beyond any sky you ever imagined. What if you become aware of every version of you? What if you're able to see and inhabit them all simultaneously? Are you getting a sense of your possibilities? Number 8. You can experience Source and still know it is you who creates yours. If it is your desire and expectation to meet God, then you will create that experience. But in this place of expanded awareness, in this place of intense connectedness with everything in all that is, you will come to a knowingness that there is no all-powerful entity deciding things for you. You will settle more into the knowledge of your own power and freedom. You will start to see that what you imagined God to be is starting to look and feel a lot like you. Then from this place, you can step in any direction you choose to go, or even in many directions at once. There are no limits here. Number 9. You can create the illusion of bad things, but you are creating from Source, and that is pure positive energy. You are so free you can choose bondage. You are so powerful that if you choose to believe in a devil or in a hell or in dark and evil forces or in any manner of negative things, then you will create the semblance of those things. But in all that is, there is none of that. There is only pure positive energy. And the only reason we add the word positive there is to emphasize that there truly is nothing fundamentally evil that exists. As you step more and more clearly into the glorious awareness of the true nature of Source, all of that will drop away until you are simply left with who you are and the intense love and connection you share with everything. Number 10. Peace and power, fun and freedom are always yours to choose, no matter what realm you step into. In the end, we come back to the absolutes, as we call them, and they are. You are an always connected, timeless, spaceless, shapeless, borderless extension of the pure energy of all that is. And 2, you and your context are always a matching set. We call that the law of attraction. Wherever you go, you and your context are with you. Apart from those 2 fundamentals, that you are always at choice in everything, there is truly nothing you cannot be, do, or have. As you settle more easily into the awareness of all of this, as you allow yourself to know more constantly who you are, then you can step more easily and confidently through each new doorway and create new things. You and your context, you and your world are a moment-by-moment creation. Think for a moment here about the implications of that. We are thinking we'll spend more time with this concept shortly. But for right now, we'll leave you with this thought. You can look at life this way, and it's a perfectly valid way of perceiving yourself. In fact, it's a more valid way of thinking of your life than as being X years long. Here it is. When you woke up this morning, your life began. And when you go to sleep tonight, it ends. Any past that existed is just a backstory you made up. And any tomorrow that might exist is a new creation, a new life. It might look a lot like your old life, or it might look a lot like heaven. Remember, you're the creator. That's why you're here. It's all about desire and it's all about choice. That is how you exist, and that is why you exist. Life is about choosing to believe new things. We are here simply to remind you of the possibilities that exist. You are here discovering all over again how to believe. And now we move to our longer discussion and to any questions you might have.
This Hangout on Air was our introduction to our theme for the week. If you're on the Hangout Live or watching the Hangout recording, you can get invites to our extended free open calls with questions and answers by becoming a guest member. See the links on your screen. And if you'd like to really get this down deep in your bones, you can become a member and come to 3 calls a week where you can ask your questions and get some great answers. So there's a link on your screen for that as well, or a pop-up. So we welcome you, and we are ready for questions and answers. Ta-ra.